Josko Gvardiol to Manchester City is advancing. Chelsea are in hot pursuit of Moises Caicedo. Liverpool have a high interest and a very big interest at that in a Spanish midfielder from Celta Vigo. And Kim Min-jae's saga might have just took a bit of a twist as it nears its end. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. It's another all new news video that we got in store for you right now. We're talking about all the transfers that I've talked about in the introduction to this. We're also going to be looking at anything else that might break during the video, or anything that you guys may want to throw in the comments section as well that you might want to talk about. We'll do all of that good stuff. But yes, the main, obviously, attraction of this video is we're going to be talking about Josko Gvardiol as Manchester City look to be in hot pursuit of one of the most highly rated centre-backs currently in the modern game. We're going to be talking a little bit about Moises Caicedo as well. Gabri Veiga of Celta Vigo and his interest or his attraction of interest from Liverpool. And we're going to talk about Kim Min-jae as well. That saga seems to have taken a bit of a twist in the last 24 hours or so. But before we go any further, like I say, I would like to remind you to please like the video, like the live stream, subscribe if you're new. Both things are always incredibly greatly appreciated. And of course, like Ballum is here. Hope you're well, dude. Nice to see you once again on this fine Thursday afternoon. Oh, not even Thursday, is it? It's Friday. I'm losing track of my days. Friday afternoon. Yes, so get involved in the comment section, like the video, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Very much appreciated. Yes, lads, he is feeling Brazilian today. Yeah, Brazilian shirt. It's a classic. Will you do a samba dance for the view? Oh God, no! No one wants to see that, bro. Nobody wants to see that. Glad you're good. Yeah, all good on this Friday afternoon. Manchester are a cheat code. Leipzig defender will simply make them better. Absolutely, they have just strongly reinforced their defensive options. If obviously this goes according to plan for them, you never know with the amount of defenders. Leipzig could take him back for a season on loan. We all want Leipzig to win Bundesliga because it isn't buying anybody to win it differently. I was really praying, like I say, that Dortmund would have done it this season, but they bottled it on the final day of the season. But yes, let's get on to talking about Gvardiol. This is a player that is highly rated. This is a player that is highly coveted. This is a player that is highly sought of and sought after in today's modern game. This is a 21-year-old Croatian left-sided centre-back, left-footed, provides that balance that many teams tend to go for now with a more left-footed sort of centre-back. He's got the versatility, I guess you'd say, to operate as a left-back as well as a left-sided centre-back. And I think that would work perfectly in this new Pep Guardiola system, where, of course, he's switched to a 3 at the back now. With him switching to a 3 at the back, it means that left-sided centre-back position can be operating as a bit of a left-back as well as a left centre-back. He's a progressive, modern-day centre-back. And what I mean by that is that he's very confident with the ball at his feet. When he gets the ball, he can look to turn into space and carry the ball forward. He can look to pass the ball. He's very good at doing both and very confident with that ball at his feet. And obviously, that works very well. And again, in the Pep Guardiola system, where not a lot of teams are going to be attacking City. Not a lot of teams are going to be wanting to go toe-to-toe, shall we say, with Manchester City throughout the entirety of the game. Some teams prefer the sit-back approach and hope for the best on the counter-attack and hope that City are having a bad day in front of goal. That kind of strategy to try and beat them. It has really become a question of how do you beat this Man City side? And a couple have obviously found different ways of doing it. Tottenham seem to find a way of doing it at their home stadium of all teams. Obviously, other teams have beaten them in the past, but it's never a foregone conclusion. It's never a consistent sort of thing. City seem to just find a weakness that they suffer with, and then they instantly work on that going forward. Gvardiol, for me, works perfectly because against teams that are going to sit back, he has the ability, the confidence, and the quality to take the ball from deep, run into space, run further up the pitch to open up space for other players, and to obviously then go on and choose the better option in the final third for him to obviously cause some damage to the opposition defence if needs be, or to obviously move the ball on quickly to the more creative outlets of that Manchester City side. How did Leipzig make Liverpool wait 6 months for Naby Keita like that? Contract and Liverpool being awkward with money, and it turned out we might have actually been better off leaving it as it was. It will happen next week if it is to happen, because Croatia are in the Nations League final, which would be nice for them to win. Josko Gvardiol is a good young defender and can always improve. Gvardiol is a Leipzig legend. They won the last 2 DFB Pokal German Cups. So Manchester look to signing 2 Croatian players, yet they are losing their assistant manager again. Are you going to the Peps? I'd love to learn under the best, but unfortunately, I'd never go to Man City. Titan Rowan, hey dude, how you doing? Nice to see you in the chat, brother. Hope everything is going well with you. So, he's perfect for the here and now, but like I say, he's 21 years of age. He's going to grow. He's going to evolve. He's going to get even better playing with this Man City team that's obviously got better players than Leipzig, with all due respect, and obviously a better manager. He's going to be winning trophies. He's going to be growing as a player, as a leader. This has all the makings for me of an absolute quality signing for Manchester City going forward. Fabrizio Romano obviously was on this very much, and he said today, understand Manchester City are advancing on Josko Gvardiol deal on player side. Negotiations on player terms are progressing well, same as Kovacic, and we might talk a little bit about Kovacic a little later. Leipzig will only sell Gvardiol for a huge fee, otherwise they are prepared to keep him for 1 more season. And that's really important to note. We know that obviously Leipzig in the past have done plenty of business. We know that Gvardiol seems to be the latest in a long line of Leipzig players that are on the way out, shall we say. We've seen the likes of, as Ballum said in the chat, Naby Keita leave for Liverpool. We've seen the likes of Timo Werner leave for Chelsea. A couple of other players as well. We're seeing Christopher Nkunku leave Leipzig for obviously Chelsea again this summer. Gvardiol seems to be the latest in a line of players that are going to be leaving this kind of stepping stone club, so to speak. We've seen it time and time again happen with fellow German club Dortmund. Leipzig are another one of that nature. We've seen Upamecano leave. We've seen Ibrahim Konate leave. There are a number of players that have come from this Leipzig setup that have gone all out across, mainly to the Premier League, of course, but across Europe and obviously to fellow German club Bayern as well in a couple of cases. And that just continued to spin that kind of wheel. This one could be again another one to add to that. But what you've also got to factor in, as Romano states, this German club are going to demand a very, very high fee. Not only is he highly rated, but I think his contract doesn't run out for another 4 years. I think his contract's up in 2027. So in terms of that, Leipzig hold all the cards in the negotiations here, and they can charge whatever they want to charge. And although Gvardiol may be open to the move and may want the move going forward, it's really up to the clubs. Personal terms, I don't think will be much of a problem, if any of a problem. It's going to just be about whether these two clubs can settle on a fee. And like I say, with Leipzig holding all the cards and with how we know Leipzig to negotiate in the past, when, of course, they are not really into selling. They don't have to sell. They can just ride it out for as much as they want. And it's not going to be maybe fair or maybe to the liking of a Gvardiol, who may love and jump at the chance to, of course, play in the Premier League, play for Manchester City, play under Pep Guardiola. But at the same time, it's the contract that he signed, and it's obviously the business that Leipzig want to conduct. Man City doing it again, absolutely. Man City are strengthening, and they don't rest on their laurels. They don't sit back. They don't think, oh, we won the treble, we'll just sit back and see what happens next. They don't eat, they don't sleep. Pep Guardiola just continues to go again, and he keeps on being motivated. And it's what I've talked about a number of times with Man City and Pep Guardiola. He likes to keep things fresh, and he doesn't wait around. He's ruthless. He's aggressive in that aspect. He just looks at ways to continue to improve, continue to rotate, continue to keep things fresh. And of course, that's going to happen with these kinds of transfers. And especially when you consider as well that the likes of Aymeric Laporte may be leaving this summer, this guy coming in is not only the replacement for Laporte, but could be an upgrade on Laporte, particularly in the long run. Maybe not right now, maybe not completely right now, but in the long run, he may have a higher ceiling, higher potential that maybe Gvardiol can exceed, and maybe he might actually be a better fit. Maybe he's a better player. I was doing some comparisons in my research with Gvardiol and, of course, Nathan Ake, who currently occupies that left centre-back position. Gvardiol is an upgrade on him too. He exceeds him in terms of tackles made, interceptions, passes, everything along those lines. He is an upgrade on him too. And it just seems like a logical sort of fit that they are very similar players in the way that they play and everything. But at the same time, Gvardiol is just seemingly better at a club that isn't necessarily the best, or definitely isn't the best in their own league right now. So Man City continue to improve. They continue to reinforce their squad. And like I said, I think we're going to be in for a busy summer with Man City, because I see there being a few outgoings and I see there being a few incomings as well. Again, Romano said it, Kovacic. That deal is also advancing very nicely as well from a City perspective. So it's going to be very interesting to watch City from afar. Scary as he continues to strengthen and reinforce his squad, but at the same time, very intriguing nonetheless. We'll be interested to see if Manchester City do general sale tickets next season, and Leipzig plan to keep him for one more year. So if Manchester pay up, they will let him go. If Leipzig do, essentially money talks, and essentially that's going to be the deciding factor in this, whether or not City are prepared to part with a large chunk of money, essentially. That's going to be the deciding factor. Everything else seems to be working in City's favour to sign this guy and to get this guy obviously in their ranks and in their squad. But it's just going to be about the money. How much do Leipzig want? They, of course, hold all the cards in terms of his contract and everything. The only way that I think the tide may turn in this is if Gvardiol decides to hand in a transfer request and he definitely wants out. And especially when a team like Man City comes calling, your head is definitely going to be turned. Naturally, it's going to be turned. So we'll wait and see on this one. What did they do to Liverpool? They could ask to take him back on loan. And my team is keeping Adrian. Yeah, Liverpool keeping Adrian. We talked about this, haven't we, bro? Like, we're both not happy about that, but it's Klopp's decision at the end of the day. So we'll just leave it for what it is. Fingers crossed that we don't see him a lot this season, and Alisson continues to be on top of his game in goal for us. So fingers crossed on that one. Seems like Kyle Walker and João Cancelo was leaving, so watch out for them going out for a right back. Depends really, because isn't Rico Lewis a right back as well? Am I right in thinking that, or am I just making that up? Have I got the wrong youngster? I might have got the wrong youngster. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but with obviously the change in formation, you might be seeing a lot more sort of wide centre backs. Yes, Lewis just really though. Cool. I always thought I had the wrong youngster. It depends on the formation change and what Guardiola obviously wants to do. I imagine that's going to be the formation going forward, and I imagine that he's going to continue to try and work with that formation and tweak it somewhat to kind of stay one step ahead of his opponents. But I don't know whether this is going to be the growing trend for the next couple of years or so. But it seems like the modern day sort of fullback, or it seems like the modern day trend now is the inverted fullbacks, is the centre backs that obviously make up a back three, and that seems to be the current trend right now. If obviously you're following the sort of Pep Guardiola route, and of course. Klopp's seemingly following suit a little bit in that aspect as well, because obviously he's trying to move Trent more into midfield and he's trying to obviously keep it compact there. So I don't know whether this is just a trend or a brief trend or whatever the case may be, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with the fullback situation at City. Obviously, Cancelo seemingly has burnt his bridge with City there in terms of obviously how he sort of had a fallout with Guardiola in January, which is why he moved to Bayern Munich. Kyle Walker, I think, obviously is coming to the end of his stay there, and obviously after 6 years, about 14 trophies or something along those lines, and obviously over like 250 appearances, it makes sense. And of course, with him being 33 years of age as well, it does make sense. So yeah. Like I say, it's all about for Guardiola keeping things fresh, keeping things ticking over, keeping opponents guessing, and obviously coming up with new ways to continue to modify his game, evolve his own game, and of course keep his opponents guessing. I find it interesting and smart how Liverpool had centre-back injuries in 2020 and 2021 season, where they ended up third. Manchester with Pep saw this, and they have 5 centre-backs. Again, with obviously playing a back three, you may need to accommodate for injuries and things. 5 centre-backs. I think if you're playing a back four, 5 centre-backs may be one too many. But I think if you're playing a back three, having 5 centre-backs is probably the right amount to have, where you can constantly chop and change and rotate, give players rest. If players get injured or suspended or whatever the case may be, then you've got a couple in reserve to obviously back up. Like I say, with Laporte leaving, it leaves obviously a Kanji, Diaz, Ake, Gvardiol then comes in, and then whoever else they may decide to put there. Rodri can fill in there if worst case scenario comes to the worst case scenario, of course. John Stones as well, but he seems to have moved more into that DM role. But of course, he can always revert back to a centre back. There's plenty of options there to keep opponents guessing. There's obviously the options to move more towards the back four. Ake can play on the left. Obviously, you can bring Kyle Walker in if you wanted, but you could also play, like I say, Rico Lewis there. There's plenty of options that are open to Pep Guardiola, and I think that he will look towards more of them youngsters going forward, which could be interesting to see how really good City's youth setup and everything is. Take care. Talk soon. Thanks, Ballon. Thanks for coming by, bro. Thanks for interacting. Really appreciate it, my dude. Take care of yourself and hope you have a great Friday night. But yeah, Gvardiol to Manchester City seems to be picking up a little bit of pace, and it's going to be very interesting to see if that actually does come off or not, which will make for interesting and great reading, unless, of course, you are anyone outside of Manchester City, because you're just sat back watching them continue to go from strength to strength. And although they have won the treble this season, it looks like they are going to be going full throttle next season to with everything that they are in. And remember, they are in 7 competitions next season: Community Shield, Super Cup, Club World Cup, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Champions League, Premier League. It's a scary thought that all 7 trophies could be going to Man City. I doubt it. I doubt it very much, but if any team and any manager is going to be doing it, you wouldn't back against Pep. That's all I'm saying. Okay, next on the agenda, Moises Caicedo. Moises Caicedo. It's sort of news, but it's not really news. What we know right now is that seemingly Chelsea are advancing on this deal. Chelsea are getting closer to reaching some sort of agreement, or they're at least probing Brighton enough to sort of go through negotiations. For me, Moises Caicedo, fantastic choice, fantastic player, and a brilliant addition to this Chelsea side. He would be if obviously Chelsea managed to obviously sign, seal, and deliver him. The issue, I think, will be the asking price, the fee. Brighton are seemingly wanting around about 100 million for him, give or take, depending on some reports. I saw some reports saying that they may be prepared to go as low as 80 to 85 million. I saw some reports say that they may be going ahead of that 100 million to the 120 million pound mark. Depends who you read, depends who you trust, depends obviously what negotiations go through. I personally would say that I know that they don't want to get rid of him, but I personally would say if I was Brighton, you can have him for 80 million, but you give us Levi Colwill. That could work as a part exchange deal. But obviously we'll wait and see how negotiations go about this. According to Fabrizio Romano again, talks are ongoing. The deal is advancing, but no deal yet. He says that Chelsea are negotiating for 80 million pound mark. And I think that they're relying on the whole De Zerbi and Caicedo sort of talk that obviously happened towards the end of the season after the January transfer window, where, of course, a move away from Brighton didn't occur or didn't materialise for the midfielder. And they're relying on maybe that being something they can fall on to obviously get the deal a little bit down in terms of the transfer fee than what originally Brighton would have wanted. For me, this is a superb choice. This is an absolute engine in midfield. This is an absolute beast in midfield. This is a guy who is a hard-working industrial worker in that middle of the pitch, carries the legs of of Brighton. And I think that in this Chelsea system, with Mauricio Pochettino and the way that he likes to play, and obviously alongside Enzo Fernandez, it could be a beautiful partnership in which they complement each other so well. Fernandez can be the kind of playmaker a little bit. He can be, it doesn't have to do as much of the industrial work as what Caicedo will. And Caicedo will just charge up and down that pitch all day long, box to box, win the ball back, shift the ball forward very quickly to the more creative outlets of Chelsea's squad. And I think that those two as a midfield pair could work very well together. They're both relatively young, so that will solidify their midfield for a number of years to come. You would hope, if you're a Chelsea fan, of course. And I think, like I say, I just think that those two could elevate each other's game very, very well and can work very well together. Obviously, getting it over the line is going to be difficult. I still wouldn't bet against Arsenal being completely out of this race yet, simply for the reason that this whole Declan Rice situation could obviously blow up in their face. Arsenal need to move quickly on Declan Rice. I would imagine Rice goes to Arsenal, but with obviously the reports yesterday that City are involved, with Arsenal seemingly messing around again in terms of transfer negotiations rather than just laying the money down on the table, you wouldn't back against City taking Rice, and then you wouldn't back against Arsenal coming in for Moises Caicedo. So I think Chelsea need to move fast on this as much as Arsenal need to move fast on their transfer target as well. I think Chelsea are very much in the driving seat, very much in pole position to take Caicedo off of Brighton's hands. And I genuinely believe that we will see Caicedo as a Chelsea player come the end or at some point during this transfer window. And I think, like I say, in that Pochettino system, with the players around him, with Enzo Fernandez as his midfield partner, I think that could be a very a very brilliant midfield to look back on and watch. I think they could work very, very well together. By the way, Qatar is finally getting united and it's coming to an end. Watch out for Manchester United, and Qatar ain't messing around. Absolutely. It's the worst case scenario for every football fan, other than Manchester United, of course, that they are getting Saudi owners. Yeah, it's scary because you see what Ten Hag has done so far, and whether he's still the right man for the job, I still have a few question marks over Ten Hag going forward and whether or not this is sustainable and whether or not he can continue. But if you give him the backing of Saudi money, if you give him the backing of their obviously major and huge ambition, he's only going to get better, and he's only going to get bigger and better, and he's only going to make Manchester United bigger and better again. So yeah, it's the worst case scenario for a lot of football fans. I don't like it from the outside looking in. I don't like it from a rival fan's point of view. I don't like it from a Liverpool fan's point of view. But at the same time, you can't argue with it. United, like City, like Newcastle, lottery winners. And I'd be saying the same thing if Saudi ownership came to Liverpool one day. And fingers crossed it does. But when you get taken over by Saudi money, you are essentially lottery winners. It's not bitter to say that. It's just the truth. I called Chelsea lottery winners when, of course, they were taken over by Abramovich. And they obviously had a lot of money pumped into their club for a number of years. Obviously during the mid-2000s to early 2010s, and even beyond in Todd Bowley's era, I guess you'd say. I called it when City got taken over, the lottery winners. I called it when Newcastle got taken over. I'll always be consistent. It's not bitter to say. It's just they were in the right place at the right time. But yeah, it's very scary for the footballing world that United are going to have the backing and the ambition that United fans have been crying out for all this time. It's not great, but it is what it is. And, you know, it won't be an overnight change. There's still a lot of work to be done in the interior of it. There's still a lot of damage that the Glazers have left and will leave, and obviously have left to rot, whether it be the stadium, whether it be the training ground facilities or anything along those lines. So there's a lot of work for the Saudis to do upon their arrival and upon their ownership. But given another couple of years, it could easily start turning around the fortunes completely of Manchester United. So fair play. As a football fan, I see that it's kind of sad that money is changing football so much and morals are gone. But I guess this is where we are at. Yeah, and eventually the playing field will level. It will take a lot of time, obviously, but eventually, you know, big money will eventually filter through to everybody else. Everybody else will get new owners at some point. The cycle will keep on spinning, and then you'll get more and more. Whether, of course, things come into play or rules come into play to kind of stop that, to change things like that, I don't know. It's exciting in one aspect. It's also a little bit frustrating and a little bit, like you say, kind of sad. A little bit. But at the same time, it is kind of exciting in some aspects as well. So there are good and bad points to it. I take your point on that. I just be loving it more and more so if it was Liverpool, to be honest. But yeah, watching United get taken over, and it's going to happen. It just seems only a matter of time before the official announcement takes place. Yeah, it's frustrating, but here we are, and now we know what's set before us, and now we've got to try and find a way to sort of combat it. In a way, if I'm the neutral fan on this, if I'm obviously looking at it through the eyes of a Manchester United fan, getting the Glazers out is a great achievement in itself, and it is a fantastic day for them because I know that they don't like their owners as much as Liverpool fans, or some Liverpool fans don't like their owners as much as some Arsenal fans still dislike the Cronkies and everything, and as much as some fans still don't like the owners of their clubs. Tottenham are a prime example of that. So in some ways, it is good for them. And, you know, they're going to be oiled up now. They're going to be oiled up, and it's going to be a very, if you're a United fan, a very exciting and optimistic time period ahead of insane and incredible possibilities that could be opened up right now. Like I say, this opens up a lot in terms of transfers. This opens up a lot in terms of further growth, further revenue, everything along those lines that they will continue to push the boat out and explore. And ultimately, for their fans, it's going to be a case of trying to bridge the gap between themselves and Manchester City. There you have it. Moving on up. Gabri Veiga. This is a player that is attracting a lot of interest. The Spanish midfielder currently plays for Celta Vigo and is attracting a lot of interest from his breakout season in La Liga. Liverpool are said to be very much interested in taking this guy going forward in this transfer window, but they face a few complications, and those complications are that they aren't the only team that are interested in signing the Spanish midfielder. Allegedly, there are a number of teams rumored to be interested, including Real Madrid, Newcastle, just to name a couple. But this guy seems to have really broke out of Celta Vigo this season. Now, I can't claim to have watched every game of his. I don't know that much about him. I've only watched maybe a handful of moments, maybe not even a handful, really. Maybe just one or two games of this guy. So a lot of what I've kind of are going to talk about is going to be based off of research and off of certain things. He's played 36 games in La Liga this season. He scored 11 goals and assisted 4 times. Now, for a 21-year-old Spanish midfielder playing for Celta Vigo, that is promising stuff. He managed to hit double figures in terms of that aspect. That is promising stuff. This is a guy who likes to drive forward from midfield to open up spaces. He's got good technical ability, great ball control, dribbling, and has got an eye for a pass and a bit of creativity on his side as well. This is a guy who looks very promising, but the sticking point, like I say, for Liverpool is that they aren't the only club involved. And when you realise that this guy's got a buyout clause of 40 million euros, that only adds more fuel to the fire, in my opinion. And that's why a lot of clubs are interested. That's why a lot of teams are looking at him. And I think he's got a lot of options on his plate. And it's whether or not, and it's where he feels is his best choice for his next destination. Personally, like I say, this guy does look promising. My only concern is that in typical fashion, we normally jump the gun on these things. This is his breakout season in La Liga. So is this just a one-season thing? Is this just him being fresh and new as to why he's took many people by surprise? I'm not so sure. Like I say, I've not watched too much of him to really say for certain whether or not this would be a good move or a bad move. From what I've read and from what I've heard, it all sounds really promising, and it all sounds like there could be a real gem on the hands of whoever does sign him. But like I said, I've not watched too much of him to really say for certain whether or not this would be a good, worthwhile signing for the Reds going forward. But like I say, there must be a player in there if the likes of Real Madrid are involved, if obviously Newcastle's owners are involved, and obviously Jurgen Klopp seems to really like him. And the news from Fabrizio Romano was that Liverpool are very, very, very interested in taking this guy. So if Klopp really likes him, if Klopp loves him, to that extent, who am I to judge? Who am I to say no to, of course, my manager? We wait and see what happens with Gabri Veiga. But obviously, like I say, with a lot of interest seemingly surrounding him, it could make for a very interesting transfer saga going forward. Poor Jurgen Klopp, imagine if he had the sources as Pep had. The annoying part is that Liverpool do. Liverpool, FSG, they have the same amount of resources as a Jurgen Klopp. As a Pep Guardiola. The issue is that the Saudis throw money at it because they want to win. They want to win, and they don't care about the cost and everything. They're in it for like a good time, essentially. And as for FSG and those kinds of owners and like the Glazers at Manchester United, they're in it for the profit. They're in it for the money. They're in it to drain football clubs dry, which is why they don't pull their finger out enough. And until fans start realizing that, nothing essentially will change. Nothing essentially will change. The only reason why the Glazers are leaving United right now is because it's not profitable. Because of United's slump in, obviously, lack of trophies, lack of league positions, lack of growth in other areas. It's essentially why the Glazers have decided to sell up. They're getting out whilst the money is still high and whilst they can still get some good money from it. As for Liverpool and FSG, until fans start pulling their money away from the club, until that could be one extreme, until Liverpool maybe hit a massive slump, even more worse than obviously the sort of mid-2010s sort of era. They won't sell up because they'll still drain the club dry, and they will not push the boat out enough for obviously this Liverpool side to get any better. And that is why I fear that when obviously the wheels really start to turn on Newcastle, on Manchester United, if obviously Todd Bowley and Chelsea can get it right, I do fear that in about maybe 4 or 5 years' time, Liverpool might be done as a top 4 club because money essentially wins. And I could be looking at it through the worst kind of fear-mongering lens. I could be looking at it through the worst type of bad perspective. But at the same time, that's what I do fear, that if obviously the wheels keep on spinning for these clubs that are willing to be ambitious, willing to push the boat out, Liverpool may suffer as a result. Nice to see you back, bro. Nice to see you back, Ballum. Nice to see you again. Klopp definitely... Oh, sorry. Bro, do you have a Twitter? If so, at Fletch1296. That's Twitter if you want to continue to follow. Guys, if you're in the chat, like the video, subscribe, all of that good stuff, all coming through. Also get involved in the comments if you're obviously in as well. All appreciated, all loving it so far. Klopp definitely needs time. He needs new players in. They'll come. I'm hoping there is Kefren Sharam. I'm hoping that one is a cert for Liverpool. Like I say, Gabri Veiga looks to be a promising signing as well. And then from there, look at the defensive issues. That needs addressing afterwards. Yeah, still going a little bit. I've still got 1 or 2 more stories to talk about, and obviously anything else that you guys want to be talking about as well. It's made for interesting stream so far. So, like I say, do like the video if you haven't already. Smash a like on it, and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. So do get involved with that. Manchester City's new assistant. Yeah, Pep just goes on, doesn't he? Pep doesn't Pep's got this ruthlessness about him that he just goes, whether you're a player, whether you're a coach, whoever you are, he just goes, right, do you want to be with us or do you want to be against us? It doesn't really matter to me. He just continues as he is. Chelsea fans aren't happy. Their new shirt sponsor is a copy of Everton, and their shirt will look like Everton. Twitter will show you a few about this. If it brings results on the pitch, I'm sure Chelsea will come around to it eventually. Obviously not hoping the results of Everton for them, but I'm sure results will come around for Chelsea eventually. And like I said, I think the Pochettino era at Chelsea could be something that is very intriguing, very special. There are a few question marks over it, but again, Chelsea fans need to give Poch time. They need to give this guy some leeway. They need to give this guy some time, because otherwise they're going to go for another cycle of another manager coming in, getting rid of half of their squad and bringing in a new squad. And then when that squad fails to gel together instantly, Chelsea fans want him out. They'll go again and again and again. And it will be the same as Abramovich with no trophies instead. So, yep, thanks, Ballon. Appreciate that, bro. Flex1296 on Twitter for anybody and everybody that wants to follow. It's what it is. Kim Min-jae, the South Korean centre-back that, of course, has been heavily linked with Manchester United, might have suffered with a bit of a twist in this tale towards the end, or as we near its conclusion. Fabrizio Romano put out yesterday that allegedly he understands that Bayern Munich have presented their project to Kim Min-jae this week, and the agreement on personal terms is now close. Kim, tempted by Bayern, as talks are now advancing fast. Man United remain interested, but it was never done. Release clause available in July. So, despite everything seemingly pointing towards Manchester United signing this guy, taking this guy from Napoli to Manchester, it now seems that Bayern Munich have entered in at the 11th hour and are almost taking him off their hands, out of their grasp. Obviously, we'll wait until July, because in July, that's when the release clause becomes active. And from there, that's when the sort of options become available. But we'll wait and see on this one. This is very interesting now that obviously Bayern have entered the fray. His buyout clause starts in July, so Bayern will try. Yeah, like I say, it's going to be very interesting now. We know that obviously Bayern are looking at defensive options, and they're looking to try and strengthen and bulk up. And of course, with Thomas Tuchel there now, of course, defense is a big area for him to kind of improve upon. So we'll wait and see on that one. Kim Min-jae will be welcome to the Premier League because of the audience abroad. He will be a good brand signing for them overseas. Absolutely. I've compared him to Heung-min Son because obviously both are South Korean and both obviously bring eyes from South Korea and from Asia all the way over to the Premier League and to them. And you see the massive influence that obviously he has on Spurs. And I feel like maybe, just maybe, it might not be to the same level or the same magnitude of effect, but Kim Min-jae could definitely have a similar effect wherever he goes, whether it be Bayern or whether it be Manchester United, as seemingly this tug of war between those two teams continues. Random question: how old are you? Fletcher's 16. How was high school today? Or Fletcher's 18 in college. May shock you. I'm actually 27, dude. I'm actually 27. No lie, genuine. I'm actually 27. It's a madness. It's a madness. Don't know what the hell happened, but yeah, I'm actually 27. So there you have it. But yeah, Kim Min-jae, very intriguing to me. Like I say, works. it works for United. Obviously, we know that they're looking to strengthen their centre-back options as well. They're looking to beef up their entire squad, really, because obviously they'll lose a few through sales. They'll lose a few through who they've released and everything. Of course, I think they released some players today. Looking to, like, goalkeeping position is something that Ten Hag was looking at. Defence, obviously midfield. We wait and see on the Mason Mount situation. But like I say, the thing that's holding this all up, and I think that obviously this is just waiting to be released, is obviously the takeover. Once the takeover, I think, happens, that's when United go, right, bang, 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 bang. And then they get the signings that they want. It's only a matter of time before obviously that gets done and dusted and made official. But until then, United will have to be a little bit more patient, if they already can be, with how long this takeover thing has lasted. Obviously, Kim Min-jae is a little different because, of course, they're waiting for the release clause to become active next month. So they only have another 14, 15 days or so before that obviously comes into effect. So we'll have to wait and see. 27, the kid, 16 to 18. I'm 25 next month. Yeah, I get that a lot. I'm much younger than I am, but yeah, it's going to work out for me in the long run. So it is what it is. The takeover looks likely, yes, 2 weeks until July. Yep, and then obviously that transfer clause becomes active, and then we'll see who wins the tug of war, seemingly, between Bayern and Manchester United. I think obviously, but if when that takeover does get complete, if it does get complete before then, but United will probably come in with like an improved offer on personal terms, and they'll be able to blow Bayern completely out of the water. If you're looking at it right now, it really depends, because he's more of a left-sided centre-back, Kim Min-jae. If they're going to move him over to the right, that's fine. But of course, Ten Hag really likes Lisandro Martinez, who plays more of a left-sided. So is it going to be a slight change in formation? Is it going to be a case of moving one of them to the right-hand side a little bit more and covering for Varane, who, of course, can't play a 38-game season because there are regular injuries with him, and obviously players needing a rest and everything. It definitely adds strength and depth and everything, and that's brilliant for what United need. But it's just going to be interesting to see how they balance those two in particular, particularly when they're more left-sided than more right-sided. Do you expect Napoli to lose a few players? It'll be interesting. There's obviously a lot of change happening at Napoli right now. They've obviously just won the Serie A League. They have got a new manager, of course. Victor Osimhen is under heavy transfer speculation, and I think that he could actually be an interesting prospect for Chelsea, who, of course, is the team he's been linked with most. So it'll be interesting to see that. Roma is cooking, and Bayer Leverkusen with Xabi Alonso is cooking with players. We'll be interested to see what they do. Yeah, Roma are getting their business done and dusted. Jose Mourinho is not messing around. He seems very angry, of course, over that Europa League defeat in the final. So he's not messing around. And I'm interested to see the progress of Xabi Alonso, definitely, at Bayer Leverkusen. I think I'll be watching a few more Leverkusen games just because of him in the coming season. Kim Min-jae will play right centre back and challenge him. Yeah, that could possibly be the case. I think whenever I see him at Napoli, he's been slightly more left-sided. So we'll see on that one. I do think the referee in Europa League final was bad against Roma. Wasn't a great performance there. Yeah, very controversial, and I don't think Mourinho really helped matters either. Varane is not caliber of playing many games without injuries. Exactly that. He's a brilliant defender when he's on his game, but the issue is that he started to pick up a few injuries and a few regular injuries at that recently. So yeah, it makes sense. Especially if they're going to be switching it around a little bit, that they cover for him, and try and manage his game time more so. Like I say, with having 5 subs, and I think the 5 subs rule has actually influenced a bit more the whole transfer window, because with 5 subs means you can name more subs on the bench. It means you can rotate and you can try and manage players a bit more in terms of their game time and everything. So, yeah, it definitely increases it, and it definitely is interesting to see how they balance it out, and especially when you consider that there's going to be more high-profile games at Manchester United next season with Champions League football making a return to Old Trafford and everything along those lines. It's going to make for very intriguing viewing, I guess you'd say, as to what United do in their transfer business. Do Chelsea have a striker curse? Many, including Fernando Torres, mess up there. Yeah, but I guess you could say that the goal that Torres scored against Barcelona might have actually covered for that £50 million price tag that, of course, he left Liverpool for. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think maybe some cases they've had the right striker, but maybe wrong manager, maybe, or the right manager, but wrong striker in some cases. I go since Diego Costa left, he was phenomenal for Chelsea, but since they left, Alvaro Morata going there, I think was the manager at that time Conte? I want to say it was Conte, but I don't know if it was, because I know that at the time that Morata went to Chelsea, Chelsea also wanted Lukaku, and United also wanted Morata or Lukaku, and Chelsea ended up getting Morata. Lukaku went to United, and I personally thought at that time that if Chelsea had got Lukaku and United had got Morata, I thought that would have been a better deal for both. But as it turned out, both were pretty poor. So it does seem to be a case of either the wrong striker, right manager, or right striker, wrong manager, whichever way around you want to see it. But the hope is that obviously Chelsea now can find someone to put the ball into the back of the net. And whether that be Christopher Nkunku who's coming in this summer, or whether it be someone like a Victor Osimhen that may work well with someone like Nkunku going forward, we'll obviously have to wait and see on that one. Can you do a demonstration of pulling a lever? This is what Barcelona do and make money by selling shirts, it seems. Depends. Depends. Ten Hag loves balance, and he wants his players to have their preferred foot on the right. So, you'll see that a lot now in football. People tend to stay away from the sort of, or some teams at least decide to stay away from the whole right-footed player on the left side of centre back. I know that Liverpool do it with Van Dijk a lot, but we'll have to wait. Some players just like that balance. I get that. Are you going to watch England versus Malta? I don't really watch international football. Well, I don't really watch England, to be fair. Don't really watch England unless it's in obviously a major competition. I'm not necessarily a massive England fan until obviously they can get a manager that intrigues me, excites me, actually makes me want to watch their football. And a manager that obviously doesn't pick players based on reputation rather than the way that they're playing, but we'll never get a manager like that. And international football is a bit different to obviously club football. I get that. But Gareth Southgate doesn't interest me, doesn't excite me, whether it's in his press conferences or whether it's just the way that he plays. I'm not necessarily interested by England. And of course, when you throw up a team like Malta, England should win anyway. So what would be the point? I'd much rather watch another international team play. I am actually busy tonight, so I can't watch it anyway. But yeah, I'm just not that interested about that, to be fair. As a Liverpool supporter, my ideal signing would be Frankie de Jong, because he is a good passer. If he goes to Manchester City, he's over in the Premier League. I don't think he'll go to City. I think maybe that ship has sailed a little bit, especially with Kovacic coming in, and maybe they're looking at a couple of other players as well. But I get you. Frankie de Jong is a talented and quality player, and he probably should have gone to Man United when he had the chance to. He decided to stick it out at Barcelona. Fair play to him. Played as a centre-back for some reason. But yeah, I think he's a quality player, and I really do admire him, and I've admired him since he was at Ajax. But We'll wait and see if obviously Barcelona decides to cash in on him or what the situation is with him. Seems to have gone a bit quiet on the De Jong front, to be honest, but we'll wait and see. Thoughts on covered that one. Yeah, like I say, I do like Frankie De Jong, so I do admire him, and it would have been annoying to me had he gone to United last season, but he didn't, so thank God for that. Ten Hag wants his star boy player from Ajax to United. I'm sure that Ten Hag would love in there. There was a time where he was going after like plenty of Dutch players, wasn't he? And plenty of former Ajax players that he had been there for before. It was a bit weird that he tried to get some familiarity in there. Southgate out. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I understood why the FA put him in charge of the England team. I get it. I think he's done a good job, to say the least. But at the same time, he probably should have gone after the 2018 World Cup where we lost to Croatia, because it was a pretty straightforward run that you would have expected England to have accomplished until we got to Croatia. And I didn't even think Croatia they've got some very special players, but I thought with the team that we had, if we'd have been a bit more expansive, if we'd have been a bit more attacking minded, we may have hurt them a bit more than what the outcome was. And I felt like with the kind of restrictions on the England players and the sort of defensive mentality and the defensive mindset, I just felt that, he's not going to learn, he's not going to go forward. And then lo and behold, in the Euros, he didn't learn again. And he messed up in the final against Italy. Now, Italy were worthy winners, and Italy were the ones that I chose to win the competition. But again, I felt that in that final, especially with going 1-0 up very early, Italy were probably there for the taking. And he didn't learn his lesson then. And I thought, right, if he's not going to go after the World Cup and he didn't learn his lesson in the Euros, he's definitely going to go. And then the World Cup took place and he was still there. And then, of course, lost to France. And again, I didn't think France were that good in that game. I thought France were a bit underwhelming in that particular game, that maybe they could have been there for the taking again. But he's still there. And like I say, I got it at the time. But I just don't agree with his tactics. They're a bit negative for me. They're a bit defensive-minded. They're not for me particularly. I understand that football is about finding different ways of playing and finding different ways of playing the game. That's what makes it so special and so unique, that there are different tactics and different ways of playing. His football just isn't for me. But at the same time, he made plenty of mistakes that I don't think he's learned from in previous tournaments. So, yeah, I'm not necessarily his biggest fan, but it is what it is. Almost 1 hour stream. Take care. We'll see you soon. You will end this soon. Good to talk, Fletch and Titan. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it, big man. Appreciate you being here and interacting. It's been a quite a fun and interesting stream, to be honest. So thank you very much for doing all of that. Take care. Enjoy your Friday night. If you're watching England, then I hope it's a good game for you. Yeah, I'm leaving as well. Take care and nice stream as always. See you soon. Thanks, bro. Appreciate you coming by as well. Appreciate it. I'm going to wrap up now, actually, because I've pretty much talked about everything that I want to talk about. So we are there pretty much. Thank you all for watching, listening. Thank you for getting involved in the comment section. Continue to obviously do get involved as well. Continue to get involved. Whether it's anything that I talk about in this video, whether it's anything that you want to talk about personally, any other stories, anything else you want to talk about, maybe you want to talk something on a future video, maybe you hear a transfer rumor that you want to discuss and talk about, anything along those lines, feel free to still get involved in the comment section afterwards. Make for great and interesting reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and probably greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks live stream, and I will see you all again soon. in another video or live stream or whatever the hell that may be.